everyone. This is Luca Majno. We're back with Frank Gregory Ford. This is Global News Update on TLBTV, courtesy of the Liberty Beacon Project, where we give you complete backstage up-to-date info as to the developments occurring in our world today. Greg, how you doing?
Yeah. Hey, it's a pleasure to be here as always, Luca. Boy.
It's a pleasure for me. This is like dessert after my myelogram, which is a needle about that big stuck in your back.
Right, right, boy.
I'm doing good. So
Yeah, I'm glad to see you're doing good. I hope all our listeners are sending you their prayers and best wishes.
Well, all they have to do is listen to what we're talking about on the show, and I'll be the happiest man alive. And we wanted to start since we can now see the images, both of us. We're very happy to be able to comment on them together. Greg, it is good to see you. So I'd like to start sharing screens because we got our snapshot to get into. So I'm going to share screens, and I'd like to start with our first shot. Greg had a really good idea to speak about First Nations tonight. So I said to myself, don't get me going on that one, right? Because I'm like him. I can't stop talking. Once I get going, this is all that it's about. And if people can understand this, it's the Europeans coming over saying, well, you know what? Colonization is civilization. If we, the superior race, take the land of other races, we must utterly destroy the previous inhabitants. This is one of the co-founders of British Columbia, member of the Legislative Assembly. So, you know, and you may as well forget about where scalping came from. No, it's not the Indians that invented it. It was, you know, courtesy of Governor Charles Lawrence. And it was passed in 1756. You know what? It's still on the books today in Canada. And we're talking Canada. We're talking the Indian Act, which is like going to buy diapers for a baby, right? They were the wards of the state. There were laws passed on sterilization for them. Everything was owned and operated by the Europeans. You needed to have passes to move around, you know, to go hunting, to get out of the reserve, etc. Then there's talk now about horrific stories that come out about the electric chairs that were used, quote, for the entertainment of passing dignitaries when the kids were in the residential schools, which were run by church and state, as we know, and people like this guy have a lot to say about them. In Canada, they were being used, and we have no idea of the horrific, you know, stories. Another story about death that I quickly want to tell you about, Greg, when a 9-year-old was thrown out of a 2-story window for not having cleaned the principal's office properly. And the nun was greeted with the principal saying, well, how wonderful, at least we got rid of the squaw and not one of our best nurses. This is the type of attitude. So here you have it, and this slide here, fractured skull, you know, what contributed to the death? Who cares? You know, who knows? And that is written proof of how they treated them. And this is basically how Duncan Campbell Scott, i.e. Indian killer, thought his things should be run. This is a quote from him. And you can go on pause if you'd like and read it for yourself, but we have to get through this relatively quickly. It's a matter of ethnic cleansing, and that's my contribution to what Greg talked about last time. It's nothing but ethnic cleansing and assimilation. As we see here, it's the act of doing to another person what once was done to you. Here, you can't get as many police officers to protect and locate missing Indigenous women in Canada or the United States, but you can get this many police to stand against one woman in the name of oil and gas. And that's what that was. That was outside of Richelieu, New Brunswick. And I almost went there, but my ex at that time had told me, if you go, don't come back. The Prime Minister of Canada at that time, once again, when you point to somebody, what is that? What is that? Pointing to somebody. I want people to think about that. And it's laughing. It's you know, oh, look at that. Isn't that cute, those buttons? You know, did you put that on your coat yourself? Okay. Greg, you had something to say about the tribe?
Oh, I believe, looking at that young fellow, he is a Kwakiutl.
It's Western.
Right,
Western
right.
BC.
Out in British Columbia, BC.
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
I'll get you
and
his name
it
for next show.
well isn't it a considered bad manners if even among Caucasians to point at somebody?
Yes, exactly. The only
Okay,
time
I
I remember
mean,
seeing that is when Rothschild points to Prince Charles on the chest, and it says, "When you can do that, you must be a Rothschild," right? This is really all the Canadian, quote, Indians want. It's like American Indians. It doesn't mean anything. They're insults to the original people. The only thing that they want is recognition, and that comes through remorse. And we ain't seen any of that yet. Okay, that's my point for that one. Quickly, we're going to go to the United States, where we're suffering from a wheel of distraction. We were talking about this last time, Greg. That was your word, distraction. And if you look at them all, you'll understand quite clearly where we're going with this. The money required to eradicate hunger for everyone in the world has been estimated at $30 billion a year, about half as much as the world spends on the military every 8 days. Why is that? They don't care. And the war on drugs, some wars are not meant to be won. Indeed, we speak about that, Greg, almost every show. Munitions to fight wars abroad that we don't even know anything about. Most people can't even tell where that picture was taken. Then you see the war coming to us. Now there's UN trucks and vehicles. They show train loads going by, nonstop, train loads
right.
all the time.
And I'm looking at those, and those are all specifically designed case-hardened vehicles with desert camouflage and radar deflective.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm seeing here is very expensive.
Yes.
Each vehicle is probably $150,000 to $200,000 before you do anything to it. And as far as I can see on this train, it's stretching off in the distance with these very expensive vehicles that are case hardened against IEDs.
Yeah,
Okay,
people are just taking videos. There are non-stop videos of these.
Now, do we really need to have something that expensive? Just the cargo on that train. Okay, we couldn't take care of everybody and feed everybody and knock all this a war a day nonsense off.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is where it starts. We're being brainwashed, and I'm just throwing things at people because I only had a few minutes to get this together, and I don't want it to come out like it was something that was well planned. We're here to make people think and to tell the truth, and it's time people did that. The only way to honor the fallen, it would logically be not to find more ways to find others to send them there. A tyrant is always stirring up some war or other in order that the people may require a leader. Where does that come from? That comes from a long time ago, right?
Yeah, it comes from Plato.
Yeah. So, and you find out later in life that all men are not created equal. And doing this without notes too. In the game of divide and conquer, they keep us busy fighting each other instead of fighting them, right? Well, logically, look at this. I find this right afterwards. We should stop fighting over who created the world and fight against those people who are destroying it. Children of the earth, it's time to go back once again and burn their force to the ground. Why? Well, we'll give you a taste of Wounded Knee, 1890, where the soldiers were trained to shoot women holding their babies right through to save ammunition, one shot. And then, well, in this case of Lost Bird, who was suckling on her mother's breast, the dead mother's breast, upside down in a field of snow for 3 days. They find her because they saw something moving, and they didn't have the rifle probably, and they saved this little baby girl. So then they have to, they look good as if they saved her life. Isn't that wonderful? Here, Greg, as a doctor, you probably know this too, but I want to share this with people. They could literally lie down and take their own life. Some would do that by either biting their tongue. I'm not sure. Different methods were for different First Nations, but they could terminate their life on will. This is how controlled, this is how everything was so, pure. And here in this this little poem, she uttered a quiet prayer, told the family dog goodbye. Her broken heart gave out, and she sank slowly down to die. It's known that what killed Chief Joseph was his broken heart, literally. This is a shot of the Black Hills before their desecration, although you see buildings that are already erected on top, or just one anyway. But it was vandalism indeed. That's what the word is. It's graffiti. And this is, I'm really happy to share this like this with you. What basically I'm doing all my work today for this shot that I saw. This is the first time I saw it. It was from Carlisle Industrial School, led by a very arrogant Colonel Richard Pratt, and in the late 1800s. And this is the work that I do. I do it for them. I do it for their honor, because they cannot speak for themselves. And this is exactly what we were faced with. Okay, our heroes are not your heroes. Damn any man who sympathizes with Indians. I've come to kill Indians, and I believe it is right and honorable to use any means under God's heaven to kill Indians. That's how it worked. And he's a reverend, so wow, And there's Oyesa saying, silence is the absolute poise or balance of body, mind, and spirit, because that's what they believed in. So this is yin and yang. This is enemy on one side and, peace on the other. The first Thanksgiving, go look at it, Google it, research it. It's not what you think it was. And prisons today are basically concentration camps and FEMA camps, like Greg is going to be adding a word in about. The U.S. has 5% of the world's population and 25% of the world's prisoners. So these are all things to think about, Greg, and welcome to the show, and thank you for letting me get that out.
Okay, well, thank you. It's always, I always appreciate your appreciation, Luca, and I hope our listeners do too. I'd like to, by the way, let everyone know that if you go to the Berkeley, the Lowy Museum in Berkeley, California, it's a famous anthropology museum, you'll get to see some of my family members, all right?
Cool.
From the representatives from the Majno tribe, and you'll get to see the lost art of feather weaving, okay, making feathers, and they could actually weave a basket so tightly that it could hold water. That's how the Native Americans in the area of Northern California, as in the Majno tribe, okay, and my family members, several are still alive today. Hopefully they're listening to this show. And I'd like to say hello to all of those family members, and also my Cherokee family members in Oklahoma at the Tahlequah Reservation. All right. So in Tahlequah, the heart of the Cherokee Nation, I should say. All right. So, and I'd like to point out, just take a few moments to point out, I reviewed the treaties that were kept, okay, between the East Coast establishment moving west after and if you notice, when most of the Western expansion started, it was right after the Civil War. So what did they have? They had a bunch of battle-hardened psychopaths running around in uniform that didn't really care who they killed, all right? As long as they were getting paid for it, they didn't care. And the atrocities that were done to the Native Americans, the 5 nations, all the Plains tribes, everyone, okay, that was Native American living on the plains, okay, the most atrocious, indescribable atrocities were committed against these people. And everybody says, well, hey, get over it. Oh, really? Well, that's funny. I heard the same thing after the first Gulf War, get over it. I heard the same thing after Abu Ghraib, get over it. And you know what was funny is I went back to my headquarters we had Abu Ghraib, and we had another set of headquarters at Balad. And what do I see up on our maps? I see in handwriting, Indian Territory, all right? They were still this is our own army, our own intelligence corps, refer to areas that are not under their control,
Mm.
as Indian territory. Okay, so I think everybody knows that I can't really keep quiet when I see a travesty, and so I had them removed it, and they didn't take it well. These are officers of the United States military and the Army.
Mm.
They did not take that well. Okay, and so the first thing after they had me renditioned, all right, and tortured and flown out of the country illegally for trying to stop atrocities, trying to stop the torture going on at Abu Ghraib,
Mm-hmm.
the first thing they did was they went to check to see what my ethnicity was. And very sheepishly, I got a report back saying, yes, oh gosh, you're not playing fair.
Mm.
We checked ethnicity and it said, yes, you're half Native American.
Mm.
Why is that? Like I had done something wrong to them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I put them in an embarrassing spot, all right? So here's the deal, is America can't keep a deal with their own Native American sons, all right? Their own Native American families, all right? You expect them to keep a deal with anybody else?
Exactly.
You expect Donald Trump to keep a deal with Kim Jong-un? And by the way, that's in the news. I'm segueing into this.
Right.
Is we're basically in a state of war. How did we get there, folks? All right. How did we get into a state of war with North Korea?
Mm-hmm.
The last time we tangled with North Korea, we got mauled. All right. We barely got out alive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this idiot is in the White House, in the Oval Office. I was asked, who is he? And I didn't really know what to say. Yes, let me see, draft dodger, snake oil salesman, pedophile, confirmed pedophile. Okay. What to say about getting into the office of the President of the United States? Mm-hmm. It doesn't take much, and here he is picking a fight with somebody he doesn't understand, going to fight a war. It's not him who's fighting the war. It's a bunch of American kids that are going to be fighting the war.
Exactly.
It's just like George Bush. Okay, George W. Bush. All right, picks a fight with Hussein. Okay, the fourth largest military in the whole world. Okay, Iraq was at the time, and here was George Bush being investigated for being AWOL. And yes, he was AWOL. Mm-hmm. Okay, yes, he's a deserter. All right. Okay. I don't care what Daddy Bush says about his worthless son. Yes, he's a drug addict. He was a drug addict then. He was a draft dodger, and he is a deserter. All right, and he just loves to start wars for the plutocrats. Okay, so that's George W. Bush. Now, who do we get now? We got another draft dodger. How many excuses, weak ass excuses did he get not serving time in Vietnam? Okay, and he's a pedophile. If you don't believe that, ask the Israeli Mossad, ask Jeffrey Epstein. Now he has the nerve to declare war, pick a fight with somebody that the last time we went into a war with them, we barely got out alive. Mm-hmm. The Americans barely got out alive from Korea. Okay.
And for people interested, we can ask them to check out our last show where we showed a whole bunch of senators that okayed something. I don't even know. I don't even want to say the amount. Anyway, we talked about it in the last show.
Oh, was that giving
for the war budget? Remember the war budget for Trump?
Right.
Oh my God.
Right. And now a bunch of them just authorized Trump, okay, to go ahead and start a war. A whole bunch of them just today authorized this. Here's what we're going to do. Everybody listening to this, we're going to say, just say no, okay?
Just like they do to drugs.
Endless war. No to that imbecile in the White House, okay? I mean, I don't care if they just discovered lithium in North Korea. I don't care. Ask any mother that loses a son if she cares how much lithium can be mined out of North Korea now. All right?
And you remember those elements that they found in the soil in Afghanistan too.
Uh-huh. Well, is that any reason for any American family to send their sons off to North Korea? And believe me, they are battle hardened. They are more than willing to attack us. And ask anybody here if for 1 second they think that it's going to be Donald Trump out front leading the way. Okay, I hate to disrupt his golf game over this thing, but forget it. Ain't gonna happen. It's just I did the same thing when I heard Barbara Bush, okay, claiming that she wasn't gonna have her beautiful mind polluted with the coffins of dead soldiers. Pardon me, off fighting all those children off fighting the war, so her husband could make more money, okay? Could make more money. That Nazi son of a bitch that she's married to could make more money. All right. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little upset about here because, like that, I see this going on today. Forget it. Ain't gonna happen. As far as I was strapped to a stretcher when I did the right thing, followed the Geneva Accords, and now I find out, okay, that quite simply that the U.S. Supreme Court of Kangaroos won't even back me up when I was kidnapped and tortured for trying to stop war crimes. Okay, yes, it's this Supreme Court. All right. Yeah. And then the big quote that I heard out of the Supreme Court over this is they wouldn't make a decision on my case until the government told them to make this and what decision that would be.
I rest my case.
Oh, really? Okay. Hey, people, forget it. Don't raise your babies to grow up to be dead soldiers, all right? And secondly, if this joker in the White House thinks he's going to get us into another war with a really determined enemy, ain't going to happen. I am not going to endorse it until I see his fat ass out there with his bouffant, his 3-inch bouffant, blowing in the wind, leading a group of people, okay, a group of soldiers, okay, on that battlefield. Then I'll believe him. Maybe I'll think it's worth it for 1 second, maybe, all right? But forget it. Until that happens, the frozen Chosin Reservoir, the Marines dying there, the Marines barely getting out with their lives, the millions of Chinese soldiers coming down, okay, Yalu River, remember that? Okay, forget it. And, it ain't going to happen again. And by the way, here's something. Everybody's going to call me treasonous for mentioning this.
Uh-oh.
Well, guess what, folks? The Koreans had a real bad time and experience under the Japanese. For damn near 50 years, they were beaten, downtrodden, murdered, slaughtered, enslaved by the Japanese. And now we're getting upset because they fired a missile over Japan. They fired a missile? Okay. Did it hit Japan? No, it didn't. Sorry, I don't buy it. Okay, I've worked in both countries, South Korea and Japan. I know how they think. I know what's up. And if you think for 1 second that they want the United States to go pick a fight with North Korea, the South Koreans do, you're wrong. Forget it. Ain't gonna happen. All right? They won't back up. They know exactly what I'm saying is absolutely true. The last thing they want to do is foot the bill for a bunch of irradiated ground, all right, and a bunch of skeletons. Because that's all we'll have if this idiot continues, all right.
That's about it.
And yes, he is going to sit in Florida, and at Mar-a-Lago, okay. Oh, I'm getting nauseous talking about this guy. I've about had it tonight, Luca. I want everybody to know, that no, we're not going to go off to some ridiculous, insane mess again. All right? End of story. Okay? And I want everybody listening to think the same thing. Okay? If you think I'm exaggerating, bluffing, blowing smoke, forget it. Go to the library and look up Korea and how it got to be in the mess it did now. All right? So that's my take on it. And look up, and please, anybody find me a treaty where the United States kept with its own Native American sons. All right?
Exactly.
Please. Okay. Oh, well, they always point out to the Seminoles. Right. That's because they couldn't catch the Seminoles. The Seminoles were too tough. Oh, well, they had a treaty with the Apaches. Sorry, don't buy it. They couldn't catch the Apaches. Right. You know what happened? Yeah. On a closing note, you know what happened when they went toe to toe with the Lakota? The Lakota kicked all those cavalry's butts right off the plains. Kicked them right off the plains. Okay. And so what did they do? Well, let's make a treaty. Oh, yeah, right. Good idea. Well, of course, you know, the Indians being trusting, okay, and believing in the integrity of the United States government. Oh, that was it. That was a quick way to introduce a systematic genocide into the Lakota. Okay. So there it is. Any questions? Free. But that's my stand tonight, is no more bullshit wars. Okay. You know, I mean, enough of this stuff. And those FEMA barges, sink every one of those sons of bitches. All right. Sink every single one of those FEMAs, little barges that they have now. Okay. And put some icing on the cake and realize that, yes, you're dealing with classic ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing.
Right.
All right. Guess who's on those barges? Do you think the Trumps are on the barges? Do you think the Rockefellers are on those barges, or the Bush family? Forget it. They're not on those. It's the downtrodden. It's the poor, you know, people, you know, the impoverished people of you know, who can't fend for themselves. That's who's on those barges. All right. So no, we're not having any more barges. Okay. We're not going to allow them to be sunk. All right. And by the way, okay, has anybody found out what happened to the $2 billion in weapons that were shipped from Eastern Europe to the United States? Okay. By the way, who are they going to? Here's who you're going to find out who they went to. Ask Hillary Clinton, John McCain, Lindsey Graham. Okay. Any of these names ring a bell? Guess who? Oh, I forgot Whiny Joe Lieberman.
Right.
Whiny Joe. Okay. That's what's going on, because they're shipping ISIS here. Okay. Big surprise. Are you surprised? They're shipping them here. They love this stuff that's going on. Okay. They love this stuff that's happening. All right. The powers that be. Okay.
Right.
So here we go. Better wake up, people, because the tipping point's way past. All right. Yes, we're getting close to that nuclear doom, you know, 2 o'clock high. Okay. You know, that the nuclear clock that they say, are we getting closer to the doom? Okay. We're straight up. All right. We don't have any more time. We don't have any more time for weakness. We don't have any more time for indifference. All right. That's what we have. Okay. Sorry, I got a little wound up, but when I saw, because I've been all through South Korea, I know what we're facing with the North Koreans, and to have some draft dodging, snake oil selling pedophile dictate the fact that we're going to be headed off to North Korea, okay, and blowing them up, okay, and they'll probably be, you know, shooting back. They're not going to sit there and take this stuff for a second. All right. So that's what we have, and that's where we're at right now. Enough of this stuff. If we need to get rid of this clown that's in the Oval Office, get rid of him. Yeah, throw a sack, throw a set. All right, step up to the plate, America. Jeez. Okay, thank you, Luca. I know we must be getting close to the end of this.
Yeah, and I just wanted to wait until you just hit that hammer right on the table.
Okay.
What I want to do is thank everybody for listening, first of all, and for being a part of this project. I want to stress one thing, and that's truthers.
There it is. You got it.
Well, in closing, what I wanted to say is there's truth and opinion. And truth is one thing because it's verifiable. And opinions, you know, everybody has an opinion. So this is what the government wants us to do. And what I'm really proud of is where we stand right now, because we have two people that are determined and that are giving their life to make sure that other people know the truth.
Yeah, okay.
This comes from the best of the Native American elders who are sitting in the corner with their arms crossed, and they won't say anything and they won't share the traditions with anybody because nobody's listening. you know. And what we're trying to do is get to people and get people to wake up at their own pace. And those who won't, bye, you know, that's it.
Well,
so this show is for the truthers and for those who really want to wake up. And we're not going to waste Gregory's time either, you know. So until next time, thank you again, Greg, for all your knowledge, and we'll speak to you again.
Sasaka, Tayachis Sequoiam.
There you go.